So there's like a tightness here that's pulling all of your particles towards it. And then the earth is pulling this down. So when you're bouncing like this, the bounce is very gentle. It's really just to sort of help relax into the correct tone. We don't want to relax into floppy relaxation, but relax into something that can return energy, something that's bouncy. So you begin to feel like there's an elastic thread between your dantian, or you can think of the perineum and the ground directly beneath. So what we're looking for in Tai Chi all the time are separations. So if you think you've got your various components, you've got your body, your mind, your spirit, your energy. Now what we want is for all of these things to be quite clearly distinguished. So it's a bit like buying an old car and then taking it to pieces and cleaning each of the components, putting it all back together again, and letting it work smoothly because everything is clean and separate but working together. So this is what we have to try and do with our own components. And so the obvious one is just standing still or sitting still. Like when you're meditating, it's exactly the same thing if you're meditating either sitting on a chair or sitting on a cushion. So basically you've got your spine vertical, and you're just allowing gravity to just stream through the body. So what you want to do, instead of just letting gravity act upon your body, you want to relax and become mindful, become aware, so that you feel gravity as being an energy that's streaming through your body. So you become porous. So it's almost like the rain, instead of the rain just trickling down your body, it's also passing through. And that's something that you'll cultivate simply by keeping your mind with your body. What tends to happen is the mind wanders, and then of course gravity just becomes a force again. So we want gravity to be more like an energy that flows through me. So as gravity flows through me, it's catching my matter, my mass, my body, and pulling that down. And what that does is allows a contrary flow, which is the energy and the spirit that's just rising up through you. So this just standing still or sitting still or even lying still, as long as you're mindful, you're allowing a separation to take place between your body and your spirit. So the spirit is centered here, and the body is centered here. So gravity operates upon all of your body, but what you have done by toning and tightening this area up is actually concentrate that mass at this point. So this is your center of gravity. This is the point about which the gravity of the earth operates. And you want the same sort of idea for this, for the heart and the spirit. Yeah? So basically, spirit is in every part of your body, but you want to intensify it so that it does actually have a center from which it operates from. So this is being pulled down sort of strongly, and this is lifting up. So it feels as though the distance between your dantian and your thymus, your upper heart, is actually stretching. So this is mind in the dantian. So you don't want mind. Often you'll get people, and you say mind in the dantian, and they'll sort of be looking down in it like this with their eyes and just collapsing this. It's not that at all. It's like there's part of your mind that just slips down underneath. but you'll only get the right part of your mind down here if you allow the other part of your mind, the mind that's with the spirit, to actually go upwards. So the up and the down belong together. You can't have one without the other. So if you're depressed and flat and just a bit droopy, then you won't have a down chin either. So when you're standing in postures, then basically this is what's happening. You're just allowing the gravity to pull your body down, and if you like, the emptiness or the vacuum of space to pull the spirit. So the spirit is weightless, so it just wants to go up. Okay, now the problem with all of this is that it's very conceptual. And that's what you and I talk about it. And so what that tends to do, it tends to focus one's attention or one's mental activity into this area, into the rational thinking, reasonable mind. And that's exactly the place we're always trying to get out of. So what we're trying to do is actually, by settling into the Dan Shen, is basically to get the mind out of here and try and get the mind into the spine. So it's like the primitive back brain spine, the spinal cortex. Yeah? So now let's just try standing with just the hands out like this, because you feel the spine more. Yeah? So when you're like this, it tends to bring you into it tends to make this happen, and you fall into the front brain. So here, just have the hands facing out. So you're more like Spider-Man or someone like that. You know, it's like you've got this spine and you've got these limbs that come out from it. And the head is just this sort of anomaly that's stuck on top that happens to have your sense organs inside. So you want the feeling that your senses are not feeding into a processing front brain, but are feeding directly into your central nervous system, into your spine, which means that you'll be very quick, very responsive. Your responses may be a bit primitive, but they will be quick, which is what a martial artist requires, obviously. Yeah. So you've got this sense of just, you know, you're stemming from this point in the mid-back between the shoulder blades. Really feel the arms going. They're coming out of there, but they're also bringing information in. So imagine if you were to touch someone, then the information you're picking up is just going straight into your spine, and it bypasses this area completely. Right. So the thing about the mind and the rational mind is that basically it's a de-intensification. It's a slackening and a weakening of the energy of mind. And so when you get more into the spine, you intensify, you become a bit wild. Yeah? So now let's just, so you'll find yourself just wanting to get down more. Yeah? So you should feel like the legs and the arms are pretty symmetrical now, which they're not when you're in here. Yeah? And now let's just try what we call the silent scream. So basically it's like you're screaming, but you're just not making any sound. So but what you're doing is opening the mouth and bellowing silently and just feeling that as an intensification. So we just, and then just release it. Yeah. So you want to feel it as tightening you up, but tightening you up around the spine rather than tightening you up around the Dan Shen. So let's try again. So just, you want it to instantly flick, that's great, instantly flick into scream, and then instantly drop it. So there's no anger or anything like that involved, it's just pure intensity. Okay, so let's go for it. So, And then just let it go. Okay, again. Wow. Let it go. Okay, so when you do it, just let the eyes go. Don't let the eyes go out of focus. So don't worry about the eyes seeing anything. You're purely using the eyes as things that purvey your intensity rather than seeing. So it's all out from the eyes rather than in. So let's try one more time. So, and then again, just drop it. And now let's just try and just get down a bit deeper into the legs. Yeah. So what you want is this fold here. This is what people find difficult. Yeah. So my knees are bent, but it's bent here as well. So as I go into this foot, this fold gets a little bit stronger. So let's just go from leg to leg a little bit. So I'm just sinking down into that leg. And up. I want this fold here. Okay, now when I come into this leg, I want to come into the leg because my knee has bent, and because this has bent. So what I don't want to do is just throw myself across using this leg, because then what happens is this leg is then in passive mode, which is not intense. That's very not intense. So what I want is to get into this leg because this leg has done something. So I just bend the knee and I bend here and I pull myself across. Yeah. So I end up getting quite low, and then again this side. So let the knee bend and let this bend here. So if I push myself with this leg, then this hip will always rise up. If I'm pushing here, then this will tend to come up. Yeah? Now what I want is for that to actually drop as I come into this leg. So I have to bend the knee here and keep this bend so that this point here is actually swooping down into this leg. That's it. So it's quite difficult. So something that looks so innocuous has just moved, and again this one bends and it bends here. So this hip, which is heavy, swoops down into this leg. So you end up getting quite low. And then again, this one, the knee goes out and forwards, and this bends here. And that takes you across into this foot. And then again here, so knee going out. So it's this ability to separate your knees. So there's a great deal of flexibility required, as well as strength. And then one more, so this one going out and forwards. And just keeping this dropping. You don't want to have wayward hips. If anything, the hips should be the part of your body that moves the least, because they're close to the danshan, and the danshan is heavy, so it's not really going to move as much as everything else. That's great. Okay, so back up again. Okay, so when we're standing, gravity is pulling down, and the heavens are lifting you up, but different parts of you. Now what we want to do is just allow the body and the mind to separate. And for that, we turn. Yeah. So just, again, think of the spine. So let's just have the hands out like this and just feel the spine. So the spine from here all the way, you can think the top of the head, or you can just think of the very back of the neck where it enters the skull. You know, that's an important point. That's a really primitive cortex there. Yeah. And so here you're just activating the spine. Yeah. So when you think of the brain or mental activity, include the spine all the way down to the sacrum. So rather than it just being a brain, it's a brain that dips down like this. It's quite an interesting shape. Yeah. So, okay, so I'm coming out of my spine and I'm sucking all of the sensory information, my eyes, my ears, my nose. Nose is very important. They're all feeding into this spine. Okay, now when we turn, so now you want to feel as though you're keeping the spine still in the middle and just turn around it. So here what's happening, you're introducing like an angular velocity that is actually throwing your body outwards away from the spine and is encouraging your mind to gather into the spine. So here we're separating body and mind. And of course, it will only work if you try and concentrate, keep the mind on it. So as soon as you think something, basically you've come into the front brain. And you basically have to start again. You know, they talk about putting something in the back of your mind. So something that you want to be present. You don't want to forget it, but you don't want it to be something that's there right at the front. Yeah. So it's like what we want to become is we want to dwell in the back of our mind. It's like the real dwelling place. Yeah. So you can think of the back brain, you know, you can actually feel these places. Yeah. So, you know, that Rodin's the thinker, you know, the man, and he's like this. Yeah. So that's like pure front brain. It's his body is all collapsed and his head is heavy. So we want to get into our spine. So it's like a mental activity that actually comes into your body and out of your head. So we'll just keep doing this just for a few minutes. And just feel the body just being flung outwards. So it should feel very enjoyable. So it shouldn't be a chore. Try and get into your legs a bit more. Try and get sort of, just bend the legs a bit more. Imagine you've got like a knapsack, a rucksack on your back, and so you're actually quite a bit heavier than normal. And that's really dragging you down into the legs. Remember that beautiful phrase of John's, the feast is forwards. Yeah? So John always used to say, basically, you have to come forwards all the time. And staying still is basically going back. Yeah? And so as you do an exercise like this, it should be developing. It should be intensifying. You should be getting deeper into your legs. It should become more painful. You should be sweating more, feeling more. So what the last thing you want is to stay still, is to stay, because that basically implies that your mind has vacated. Your mind has gone somewhere else. So as long as you keep your mind on the job, then it will actually do the work for you. That's it. And so as you become more successful as actually drawing the mind inward and quietening it down, then not only will it be your body that's being thrown outwards, it will be your energy as well. So if someone was to come in the room and you were deep into this exercise, it would be basically meditation. What they would see is someone that's almost fallen asleep inside this movement, but the room will be full of this billowing energy that's being thrown out from you. So you're not just disturbing the air, you're distributing good energy from your legs, from your spine, and into the room. But for that, you have to let the mind withdraw into its natural dwelling place. If your mind is too out there, then the energy won't appear. Just remember that where the mind goes, the energy won't go. And it's not because the energy doesn't like the mind. The energy just doesn't like the rational mind. It doesn't like that greedy, busy mind. If you manage to develop a light mind, then the energy will always be with that. But the heavy thinking mind is anathema to energy. Hence, the plight of the human race. When I started Tai Chi and I was serious, and I asked John what should practice, he told me to do this for an hour and a half every morning. And I did. Did it wrong, of course, but And then just let it slowly wind down. Okay, so now let's just bounce again. So just 1. So when you've done something like that, an exercise for a few minutes, it's always a good idea to come to some neutral place afterwards and just try and dwell on how your energy has changed as a consequence of the previous exercise. So where are you now? Everything feels quite different. So you should still feel as though something is being flung out and something is being sucked into the center. It should be easier to get a sense of the Danshen and a sense of your own center. Okay, and now let's just pull in. So just feel the Danshen. And yeah, so the Danshen, I remember when John got us into weight training. And I was saying, why is it important? And he said, because basically, he said all of these things, the Danshen, the spirit, they're all basically muscles, and they behave like muscles. And so you can work them. So basically, in order to exercise them, you have to work them and you have to rest them. So here you just want to feel this Danshen and just tighten it, and just but gently and just pull into itself. And try and get emotional. Try and feel the mood that goes with that contraction, and try and feel the mood that goes with this expansion. So this is quite bright and airy and open, and this is almost gloomy when you pull in. Yeah. So the Danshen is quite a gloomy place. It's dark, a little bit forbidding. Yeah, but it's home. So you can't have everything. So pushing out and let it return naturally like a spring. The same way a muscle would. So when you stretch a muscle, then it gets to the point where it has to spring back because it can't move any further in that direction. So the contraction and the expansion of a muscle is just really keeping continuous movement going. So here I just let it bounce out of that. And pulling in. And pushing out. Pulling in. And like all of these exercises, you can do them however you like. Well, that's one of the beauties of them, and it's also one of the problems. So you have to make sure that you don't do them the way your weakness wants to do them. You actually do them. If you do them sincerely, then they will actually start doing themselves, and they will take you places. So you want this feeling that this muscle here is generating every aspect of this movement. But your whole body becomes Danshen eventually. So your whole body is contracting. It's just that it so happens that the Danshen is the center of that. Now my whole body is expanding. So you start off in the Danshen, but eventually you become possessed by it. So it's a bit like those African tribes people that dance all night and get themselves into like a trance. So it's got that tranced quality to these exercises. And so again, they take you to places. They take you to strange places. And the best thing is if they take you to places you've never been before. Otherwise, it just gets a bit boring. Or places that you visited like a long time ago. And then you suddenly remember, oh shit, yeah, that was interesting. Let's try that again. And the breathing, you can try it. So normally you breathe out here and then breathe in here, but you can also change it the other way. So if you did it, if you breathed in as you pull the belly in, that would be the reverse breathing. So that's really intense. So you have to be careful with that. Pulling in. So remember that if you get the correct tension in the belly, in your dantian, then your hips and your knees will naturally relax outwards. If there's too much tension or the wrong sort, it will tend to pull your knees together. That's how you know. Yeah, so as you sink and just tighten here, these are almost dropped. Yeah? You just become dantian really and you drop the legs. So. Yeah, so it's just breath, it's chi. So that the whole body is breathing, you see, it's not just your diaphragm. Yeah, so every muscle in your body is actually involved in the breathing. Okay, and now just here. Okay, so now when the legs start hurting, just go a bit deeper. It works for me. And then so up and out. So remember, we're just trying to get the upper chest to really open on this one. And then up and down. And up. Out. Up. And this is just a prelude to using the sticks. So when we've done this a few times, we'll just sit down and use the stick for a while, and then come back to this with better understanding. So, wow. It's like a fountain. You're fountaining up the spine, and it's being distributed into your arms. Down. And now just let the hands down. And then just let them fold up to here. Yeah, so the people that have the best dantians really are people that do like laborers, like physical laborers. There are people that dig the road or whatever. You know, so they have to have a real sense of their body and their body's working. And in a way, you know, we lack nowadays any sense of a dantian, partly because we've never learned to use our bodies physically, properly physically. We've never so in other words, we've never done hard work, yeah? Or what I would call hard work, yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is just use the bar to help locate the dantian. Yeah, so you're sitting down on the chair. Okay, so just bring the bar up. So have your thumbs the same side as your fingers. Yeah, so have, you know, so you want it slightly wider than you expect, and just let it rest on the top of the chest. Yeah, on the top of the chest. The top of the chest. Lindy, the top of the chest. What we're trying to do is get the back really arching like this. Yeah? What I want to do is feel like here is almost like a platform, and this could actually just sit on it by itself without me actually having to hold it. So you're using a lot of strength here in the lower and the mid back to actually thrust this up. So it's like one of those old-fashioned military poses. Yeah? So you're here. That's it. Okay, now what you want to do now is basically just lift it up, but you want to imagine that this bar, this pole, this broom handle is really heavy. So like you're in the gym and you're doing an overhead press sitting down. Yeah, which we used to do. You know, you have to have it on stand, so you have to take the bar off the stand, so the bar's back here. But we'll have it here because it's easier to feel the back getting involved. Yeah? And then you just push it above your head, but when you're pushing a heavy bar above your head, you have to be really careful, because if you let it move too much in this plane, if you let it fall forwards here, it's going to crush right down. And if you let it go back, and obviously it's going to really hurt you because it's going to pull your back right back. So you have to basically just look up as you push the bar up, just look up and just push and just swing your elbows forwards to actually push the bar up. That's it, that's lovely. And just lock out the arms, just have the arms really straight. Lock them. Lock them. That's it, that's it. So feel how it's actually, to actually lock the arms, you have to make quite an effort, yeah? And then slowly let it down. Just keep looking up to make sure it doesn't swing. That's it. And onto the top of the chest. Yeah, so you should almost be able to break this bar against your chest. Your chest should be that strong and that proud. And now again, so just what we want to feel is the mechanics of getting the bar up. Now it's easy because it's light, but we have to imagine it's heavy. And so what you need to do, if this was really heavy, then you wouldn't have enough strength in your arms to get it up. And so what you have to do is assist with the back. So what you basically have to do is just do this to actually start it going, and then your arms can take over. Yeah? And so that is just the elbows swinging forwards, arches the back, and then just gets it off the chest, and then your arms can take over. That's it. And just lock it out above your head, and just feel how it really opens the rib cage, and it really pulls at the back of the shoulders and straightening the arms. This is a good thing about having the screen, is that you can see what you look like. That's great, that looks terrific. And then slowly let it down until it's back on the chest. Okay, now let's try again. So again, you've got to swing into it. And so the way you feel the swing is with your elbows. Just let the elbows swing forwards and use, so you're getting under the bar, you're getting your dantian under the bar. And so we'll do this standing in a sec. So when you're standing, you can actually get a bit of legs into it as well. So as you swing forwards, you don't just swing forwards, you go down under the bar so that you can thrust the legs up into it. Yeah. That's it. And just always remember that when you think it's locked, it isn't. So you just got to really just, so it's a bit like yoga, you know, the way they really lock out the joints and straighten everything. And then slowly down. That's great. Okay, now let's go up again, exactly the same way. This time when we let it down, we'll let it down behind the neck. So once we're at the top, you need to just pull the head forward so that you can drop it down behind the neck. So again, elbows swinging forwards, this sense that you're swinging your dantian underneath the bar, getting it to come up, locking it right out. And now just pull your head forwards. That's it. And then just slowly let the bar down behind the neck. Yeah. So feel now how that's really pulling the chest open. Yeah. A lot of people find this quite difficult. If you find this difficult, then practice it because it's actually really important. And again, you should be able to break that bar against the top of your neck. Yeah. Okay, so again, swinging the belly forwards and to push it right up. Again, remember, you don't want to lean back too far because the bar will pull you backwards. And now just slowly let it down to the front on top of the chest. That's great. Okay, now let's try again. Now this time, as you push it up and bring it down the back, try and pull your hands away from each other. So you're basically keeping the bar under tension by actually trying to pull the hands away from you. You don't let the hands move, but you're trying to stretch the bar. Yeah? So just get that on now. So you're trying to stretch the bar. So it's almost, you know, it's a bit shaky because there's quite a lot of tension. And then use the elbows and get the belly underneath. Keep that tension on. You're pulling the bar. You're trying to stretch it apart. Lock the arms out and then bring the head forward and let it down. Keep that pull. Keep that stretch. Keep it pulling. That's it. That's it. Down. And then still keep pulling once it's resting against your back. That's great. And then again, just pushing the belly forward. So just try and feel your dantian, because we're doing this not because we need stronger shoulders and arms, but because we want a better feeling of the dantian. So just feel your belly. So tighten the belly and push it forwards. Yeah? So push the belly forwards and start the bar coming up. Keeping it stretching, that's great. And then keeping the stretch, slowly let it down until it's touching your upper chest. And there's a real sense now that your dantian is directly underneath this bar. That looks great. Okay, now let's try the same thing, but just let's just rest a bit and just try a bit of the breathing. Yeah. And then we'll try it standing up. Okay. Okay, so just breathe. So I've just had the hands on your knees. Yeah. Now breathe in, breathing in, let the chest expand, and breathe out, and pull the belly right in, bowing, and all the air is expelled from the lungs. You just completely empty, and then breathing in again by straightening, and again breathing out and blowing all the air out. So it's like you're wringing your body out, like you're wringing a tea towel, and getting all that moisture. And then you just relax really here, and the air starts rushing in, and then you really get the diaphragm involved to pull in, and then out again, blowing out, pulling the belly right in to expel all the stale air that tends to accumulate in the body, and then straightening up and pulling the air in. And again, breathing out and breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. And as Thich Nhat Hanh would say, just feel how enjoyable it is to simply breathe. So breathing out, there's a great deal of pleasure involved in doing something that feels so good and that is so simple. That's a breathing in. That's it. It looks really nice. It's got a nice energy here. So when you breathe in, so as you're breathing in, when you reach the top, there should be almost a sense that you don't want to stop breathing in. There's still something coming in, even though you can't get any more. And then you just reverse that from the belly. So you start squeezing the belly to get the out breath started. So again, it's all coming from the dantian. So here the dantian is expanding. That's it. So you want to feel like you're like a very primitive animal, like some worm that lives in a pond, and you're just a muscle. You're just basically one muscle with a nerve running through it, and the nerve is either on or off. So you're either contracting or you're expanding. You don't have any of this complicated conceptions or perceptions. You're just one blind muscle that's pulling in to expel everything out. So it's not just the air that's going out, you're shitting and pissing as well. And then you're breathing in. So now you're just pulling all that water in, and then you're just squeezing out. You're just squeezing. You're squeezing everything out of your body. So one visualization they have is that they're breathing through the skin. So it's like the air is coming through the pores of the skin, and then here, as they squeeze it out, the air is coming out of the pores of the skin. So there's all sorts of visualizations. And then breathing in again. When I do this, I always think of the Arabs in the mosque, the way they pray. It's like there's something beautifully primitive about that prayer with the head on the ground, where you just fold into something that's completely internal. And then when you come up to face God, you're just completely open and clean. They've got this, like the Arabs, the Muslims have got this great thing of cleanliness. So they wash everything before they pray. So it's like you've seen a ghost. It's like suddenly sunlight, and then you just close back in. The word Islam, it just means submission. It's beautiful. Pulling in, that's lovely, that's lovely. So it's a real feeling that everything's being pulled in because that's where it wants to go. So it looks inevitable, there's an inevitability. And one more after this, so pulling in. And eventually it's not really the breathing. So you're breathing, you'll often find your breathing has actually gone completely out of phase. And that sort of thing should happen. So it's like the motor finds a different dwelling place. Okay. And now just relax. So maybe just here. Yeah, so just feel the connection between this the low heart, yeah, which is like between your nipples. Yeah. So it's like your deep heart and the down chin. It's like there's a real like elastic pull there. There's like a channel, like a tube, and these two places they're almost the same place. Yeah. But then your upper heart is really being pulled upwards by the heavens. Yeah. And you can think of the lower dantian being the perineum, yeah? And the upper dantian is like your navel. Yeah? So like that Leonardo picture, you know, it's like the navel is just the center of the world. Yeah? It's the center of the body. Okay, so now let's stand up and try the bar, but standing up. Now I'm getting old, I'm using the bar quite a lot. So it's something beautiful. My old ladies, they've got sticks, you know, these posh sticks that are telescopic, and you know, you see people walking with them in the park. But there's something lovely about a stick that's basically as high as you are, because you can just really lean on it, and just let the body really relax. And then it's like, I love it. And when it's wood, it's like it's got a bit of life in it. Okay, so now let's just try. So get down into the legs so that you're squatting. Again, remember these folds here. Yeah? So you want to make sure that the perineum is pulling down. And then just get the bar. Remember the thumbs on top. It's easier to get under it when your thumbs are on top of the bar. Yeah? Okay, so basically it's exactly the same as what we were doing before, but now we just want to feel the dantian being a little bit more active. So imagine the bar was really heavy, and there's no way you're going to get it above your head using simply your arms. So basically what you have to do is get underneath it. So you have to get this to go back a little bit, and then drop down and swing forwards, and that starts the bar coming up. Yeah. So just have your dantian back a little bit, and now just sink into the legs and swing it forwards, and just let the bar start coming up with your dance. And now you're more in your legs than you would have been if you weren't using the bar. You can see now. And again, just lock the arms out and just look at yourself. If you can see it, I'm not sure if you probably can only see me, but it's like you're like a cross, you know, like whose cross? Andrew's cross, St. Andrew's cross. Yeah, so you've got from this leg into this arm, and from the other. And so just holding this posture with your back strong and your dantian under the bar is actually basically an energy exercise. And then slowly let it down again onto the chest and just rest. Yeah? So just feel as you want this to be like almost like a platform, so that you could almost take your hands off and it would stay up there, it wouldn't roll off. Yeah? And so basically for that, this has to be really open. Yeah? And if you want to get an open chest, then just join a gym and do weight training. Okay, now we're going to use the dantian again. So just let your sacrum go back a little bit, and then just dip down with your dantian and swing it forwards, so down and forwards, and use that to thrust the bar up. Again, locking out. Stretching, moving slightly to help the stretches. You're just wriggling it basically into a more stretched posture than you would ever manage without the bar. And then slowly down. And again, once you've got everything else going, you can keep the bar under tension. You can either pull it apart or push it in. It doesn't really matter. Again, down and forwards with the belly, and swing the bar up. And straighten. It's great. Yeah, so it's real warrior stuff. Yeah? It's real sort of, you know, open chest. Yeah. And then down. And then again, so back with the belly a little bit, and then just dip it down and swing it forwards, and use that swing forwards to lift the bar up. Yeah, so basically, you know, when you've got your bum in, which is basically just swinging your belly forwards a little bit, you're actually kicking your heart upwards all the time. And that's what we're looking at here, really. And now one more, so down. Now, if you can, what I would recommend is getting yourself a bar. Like, if you get like a weights bar, they're only like 5 kilos, but it's significant, you know. And so, okay, so down and forwards a little bit, and so you're just getting a little bit of leg and a little bit of back into this. It's called an overhead press, this pushing of the bar upwards. That's great. And now just let it down behind the neck. Again, just feel the elbows heavy. So it's almost like you're trying to break that bar against the back of your spine. Okay, now we're just going to bring the feet up, and we're just going to squat a little bit. So you don't have to go down very far. Maybe have the hands just draped over the bar, so that you don't have tension in your shoulders and your arms. So we just want this to be legs and lower back. So just squat down and then come back up, and just slowly get lower. So going down and then up. And remember, you just imagine this bar is really heavy. So if the bar's really heavy, you can't afford to let it come forwards too far. So you really have to keep your back. You really have to keep looking out and up. So down. And then you just look up and thrust. And again, it's exactly the same as what we did with the bar. You're thrusting the belly down and forward. So I'm down here. Now to get the bar to come up, I just let my belly push forwards and under the bar. And then I can get all the power of the legs into the lift. And then down and out. Yeah. So basically, you haven't experienced intensity until you've done heavy squats. So down, and now just dip down and under, and just so imagine if this had a lot of weight on it, then you'd really scream. To get this bar up, you'd bellow the top of your lungs. Yeah. So when we're in the sausage factory in Highgate, this is when we were doing all our heavy squats, the neighbours used to complain. The screams that would come from, and down again. So keep the knees out. When you go down, keep the knees out. Okay, now just let your belly swing forwards and under that bar, and then slowly it comes up. Great. And now, push it above the head again. Aha. Just when it's getting interesting. Mary's got an escape route. Okay, so now basically, see you later. See you Tuesday. Yeah, remember Tuesday, not Monday. Okay, so we're just going to squat again, but with the arms above the head. Now this is really dangerous and difficult, so be careful. So go down. You have to keep the bar back. And you just come up exactly the same way. So swinging forwards and up. Whee. And just enjoy it. Down. Knees out. Feel your dantian strong. Now let the dantian dip down and under. Push it forwards. Very good. And one more. Down. and again. So, way. This is a great exercise. If you've got a bar, you don't need much, 5 kilos would be great. And then slowly let it down. And now just standing again. So remember, at the beginning, we're talking about separating the different components. So standing allows the body to sink and allows the spirit to rise. So that's the most important. If you get that, then the others will tend to follow. And then when we turned, we were separating the body and the mind. So the body was being thrown outwards and the mind was gathering in, not just to the dantian, but to the whole spine, the axle about which you're turning. Yeah? And once you get into that and really allow your mind to come into the center, then the energy gets distributed outwards as well. Now, the other separation is body and mind together, separating from the energy. So that's basically single weightedness. So we don't have enough time today, but basically, when you just put the weight into one foot, you've got full and empty. So you've got this separation. The full side is your body and your mind clinging together. And the empty side is your energy and your spirit. Yeah? So that's like the third separation. Yeah? And then sinking into the other foot. Yeah? Yeah, so just full and empty, just feeling the two sides completely different. And you have to realize that some of these exercises, it may take like 5-10 minutes of just doing it, hopefully, and just allowing the energy to show itself. Often when you start doing the exercise, it's just very sort of mind-orientated and greedy. And then you just have to relax out of that. So it's almost like each time you do the exercise, you have to find a new way of doing it, because the old way doesn't quite work. This is the problem with creativity. You can't sort of invent rules. Whoa. And then just, yeah, so this is just the third separation short. So we're just touching that. Okay. So again, so this is like when you see, you know, the saints looking upwards in trepidation. This is this one. So they're just sinking their weight down one side of their body, and then the other side is just lifting up. So what we need is a mind that can just allow those two realities to flourish without one of them cancelling the other one out. So I have to be able to allow my body and my energy to separate. Otherwise it all gets pulled down, or it all lifts up and you lose your roots. You know, sort of what. A lot of these exercises, like you know, you're the last person to know whether you're doing it right or not. Yeah. So you just got to just do it and just believe it. And then one more, so just slipping this side, and something in me just relaxes down. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how tired and limp I feel, something will always lift through me, as long as I don't get depressed, as long as I don't let my ego in. So it's the ego, it's fear. Basically, what makes all these things that should be separate cling together is fear. And fear is basically, the ego is built on fear, basically. And so if you can just let that get out of the way. So you can think in the way who's some Heidegger, you know, so he talks about the ego and the self. So the ego is like the bad part that the self is what we're looking at, what we're trying to look for. It's the self is like the compassionate mind, the part of you that can just allow this beautiful reality that we're looking at to actually just manifest and flourish. And the ego will always try and pull it back to itself. Because this compassionate space is all about connection. It's all about opening up to the world around you from a place of real dwelling. And then one more side. One. Okay, very good. Congratulations.